In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and Chinese-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello, and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I am Vicky Fraser, and this is Joe, and he's not feeling very perky.
Hello. Not very perky.
Oh.
I've had a bit of a Monday, bit of a post-holiday Monday.
Yeah, we're back.
We
had a great holiday. It was fab, and we've got the chickens back, and we've got the cats back. Although the chickens have come back, and they don't all like corn anymore.
That's a bit weird.
Yeah. Granny Featherwax has just turned her nose up at a handful of corn.
Beak.
Which means that Nanny Egg and Amelia Eggheart have just stuffed themselves with 3 chickens worth of corn.
Well, 1.5 each, really.
Yeah, but between them, they've stuffed themselves with 3 chickens worth of corn.
Yes. Fat chickens.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah, we're back. We had an amazing holiday, didn't we?
We had an excellent holiday.
It was really good fun.
I've just been trying to work out how we can just move to somewhere like that.
Well, I could just move to somewhere like that if you could just figure out how you could do it as well.
That's what we need.
But we love this. We've just bought the dingle.
I know.
Don't want to move away permanently.
It would be expensive to move it.
Yes, it would. Yeah, we came back to a sandblasted attic.
That was cool.
Because Chris, the amazing sandblasting
Hi,
dude,
Chris.
he came in and sandblasted the attic while we were away, and he did a really nice job. And it looks
then he
fab.
tidied up.
He tidied. Yeah, I was really worried. I was worried that we were going to be like travelling for 18 hours, and then we were going to get home and everything would be covered in an inch of sand.
But it wasn't. Well done, Chris. Thank you.
It was really awesome. So there you go. So today we are drinking peppermint tea.
Mostly because we've been drinking too much.
Yeah, we really have. Yeah, we because you're on holiday and we're doing loads of exercise. We were walking like a couple of miles a day easily in heat and climbing a couple of miles a day. Maybe not.
Probably not climbing a couple of miles a day, but climbing for hours a day.
Hours a day and swimming a lot. And
yeah.
So you I think the alcohol just disappeared almost as quickly as we put it in. And it kind of got balanced out by all of the good exercise and the good eating. And that's what I'm telling myself anyway.
Yeah.
And then we came home and we kind of carried on. We had a bottle of Prosecco the first night home, and then we went to the pub a couple of times.
Drank a bit too much.
Yeah. And so we're like, right, got to stop that. So cheers.
This is another reason why I'm not feeling that perky. Peppermint tea.
And also it's cold and wet here.
We're going to light the fire in a minute.
We are going to light the fire in a minute. And then we're going to have a massive pile of pasta. Noms. Okay. Anyway, so before we get on to today's subject, which is the ethics of writing.
The ethics of writing.
I'll explain in a moment. I just wanted to mention an email that I received today from a chap called Michael Zaitsev. I'm probably pronouncing that horribly. Anyway, he wants to be a guest on my podcast, but I just wanted to mention it because I've had a couple of these now, and this is kind of how not to get on someone's podcast as a guest, because he actually sounds really interesting. He's the author of The Entrepreneur's Guide to Cannabis, which intrigues me. He's done all sorts of stuff anyway, and he actually sounds quite interesting. But all he's written is, I'm writing to inquire about the process to become a guest on your podcast. I'm blah, 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 and I've been on this, that, and the other. Thank you in advance for your consideration. Please let me know if there's any other information I can provide that would be helpful. If I'm not a good fit for your podcast, perhaps you can recommend someone else for me to reach out to. Okay, use of the phrase reach out makes me grind my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But actually what's annoyed me about this, and I might be wrong, but this is what his email says, is that he has never listened to my podcast. Because if I were approaching someone to ask to be a guest on their podcast, I've got no problem with people approaching me, by the way. If anyone wants to be a guest on my podcast, ask. I might not say yes for a variety of reasons, but you can certainly ask. But what I want to know is that, you know who I am and what I do and what I talk about.
Some vague idea of what the hell we're talking about.
Even if it's just, I was listening to your podcast episode, blah, 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 the other day, and you were talking about this, that, and the other, and I think that I might be a good fit for you because blah, blah, blah. That shows me that at least you've read the show notes, if not actually listened to an episode of the podcast.
This is like the other fella, isn't it? We've had one of these before, and it's not far off spam. Why does this guy think he's a good fit?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. He hasn't really given me any reasons to, I mean, actually, I'm intrigued, and I'm quite interested in having him on the show because he's the founder of the Entrepreneur's Guide to Cannabis, and that intrigues me. I want to know.
One of the things, it's interesting, one of the things he is a former JP Morgan and Google employee.
Do you think the cannabis had anything to do with the former?
I wonder.
I can't imagine that Google would care that much, because they're quite...
Reckon?
Oh, they live in, like, LA, and they're all hippies, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they'd like you to think.
But JP Morgan's like a massive bank, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they like their employees to get stoned all the time.
It seems unlikely.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm actually intrigued, but he's annoyed me a little bit.
Make some effort, guys.
Yeah, anyway, that's all kind of beside... There's a good marketing lesson in there for you, and that, that kind of goes for anything that you want to pitch to anybody ever. You got to give me a reason. Give me a reason to be interested.
Don't hit me with spam. Jesus.
No.
Right.
Anyway.
Onward.
So I don't know what we were planning on talking about this week, to be honest, but...
it was the second half of something we were rambling about last time, probably.
Maybe. One day we'll finish all these topics. But the other day I saw a post on Facebook from Dan Meredith, and he is a copywriter and entrepreneur whom I admire, and he's funny and he does all sorts of stuff. And but his post...
Hi, Dan.
He does not in this.
It's turning into a thing.
Yeah, it's turning into a thing. But he... Oh, you completely derailed my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he put a post on Facebook about plagiarism, and it just got me thinking. It reminded me of a few things that I've seen and kind of experienced myself. And I thought, right, let's talk about this, because this is really, really important if you create your own information products and if you write your own marketing stuff and if you write content like blog posts and articles and
training courses and things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, training courses particularly. I'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but I thought it would be a useful topic to talk about because I don't think it's always obvious what's kind of acceptable and what isn't.
Okay.
So, let's start with swipe files.
Swipe files.
What's a swipe file, Joe?
For me, it would be a pile or collection of things that I look at.
Things that you look at.
Things that I look at, yes. For maybe inspiration or guidance, or if I was writing an article about, growing grass, I might go and read that chap's blog who wants to come on the podcast and read all about his stuff.
Oh, you mean that kind of grass?
That kind of grass, yeah. And I would also,
that's so 80s.
Man, it's about the last time I did. No, I didn't. No, I never said that. That would have been 5 in the 80s.
Yeah. So
anyway, a big pile of stuff and inspiration and research and stuff.
That's actually more or less what a swipe file is, yeah.
It's amazing.
I have several swipe files. I have online swipe files and I have offline swipe files. Only my offline swipe files are that massive pile of crap down there.
Yes.
But one day when I've got my office and I've got hanging files and things, I'm going to section all this because I have...
Until then, there'll just be a big pile of stuff in the corner.
I'll probably start collecting again one day and actually... You never file anything.
It's always good for lighting fires.
Yeah. But yeah, I have a swipe file of direct mail that I think is really good. And I have a swipe file of direct mail that I think is really awful.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same for adverts, really good adverts, really bad adverts. Mostly I use the bad ones to mock and teach. And I have swipe files of articles that I found interesting and inspirational, useful information that I can use to set me off on a tangent for this, that, and the other. And yeah, so swipe files are great things. They're really good for inspiration and ideas and for what works and what doesn't work. Because if you see an advert, by the way, and you buy something from that advert, cut it out and keep it because it works. So you kind of want to look at it and think, well, why did it work? And, why did I buy this thing after reading that?
How was this crafted?
Yeah. What was it that made me go, I need one of these?
Cool.
For me, though, it's a little bit random because for me...
I can tell from the size of the pile of stuff.
You're going to say I can tell from the dinosaur rolling pin.
The dinosaur rolling pin was quite strange. That was unexpected.
I have a dinosaur rolling pin. It's the most awesome thing.
It's very useful.
I am like, oh my God. I'm a professional copywriter and marketer. You would think that I would be a little bit less susceptible to this shit than other people. I am.
To this nonsense.
Nobody's impervious to this nonsense, and anybody who says they are is an idiot. But you would think that I would have a house a little bit less filled with crazy random shit that I've seen and thought, I have to have that.
Well, I suppose to go with the swipe files, the rolling pin could at some point go towards lighting the fire as well.
That was a really expensive rolling pin. It was like 15 quid.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, it's for rolling the outline of dinosaurs into your biscuits.
Yes. Dinosaur biscuits.
Dinosaur biscuits. Very important.
We made the first batch a couple of weeks ago before we went on holiday. My niece was over.
And yet you threw out the apple peeler and corer. And yesterday we made apple chutney with kilos and kilos of apples that all needed peeling and coring. You threw that out.
I didn't throw it out. I gave it to the charity shop. I never throw things out that are useful. But I hadn't used it for over a year.
Now we've got an orchard.
Well, I didn't know we were
making chutney.
I didn't know we were going to have an orchard when I was going through the stuff. Anyway, so yeah, swipe files are great for inspiration and ideas, and they are absolutely not for actually swiping people's content.
Right.
So, a swipe file does not mean that I need a sales letter. I'm going to pick that one and copy it.
Yes.
That's bad for many reasons. But let's start with the ethical reason that it's just bad.
Yes.
And secondly, it might not work for you.
It'll be targeted at a different audience.
Probably selling a different product.
Well, you would assume so. Yeah. But you could cut and paste that out, I suppose.
Well, but I see people doing that. I have seen letters that are quite obviously cut and pasted from elsewhere, and it's just naughty. Don't do it. Anyway.
I wasn't going to.
Well, not you, them.
Dear listener.
So yeah, and okay, here's a good story about an actual plagiarism thing. My mentor John, the evil bald genius, he has a series of 52 ideas, which is where I got my idea for my 49 ideas from. And note that I did not swipe all John's ideas; these are all mine. But his with the inspiration. And Drayton Bird has 50 useful ideas, and I think I got my idea from Drayton Bird. Because I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Anyway, my point is that I didn't take their content and put it into my emails. There's a dude in America that did exactly that to John, and he's this is just hilarious, and I'm kind of lost for words because it's so funny. But this dude in America, quite literally swiped John's content,
just copied all of it,
word for word, and is now selling it.
Nice.
But no, the best thing of all is that quite a few of John's emails contain personal anecdotes. So there's one about a guy called Flor who lives in Ireland, and he's a lawyer in Ireland, and he's one of John's mates. And this story that John tells in one of his 52 ideas is about Flor. And this guy in America has copied that story as well, complete with Ireland. And it's just hang on, you live in America and presumably your target audience is mostly in America, and you're telling a story about your neighbour in Ireland. It's dude, really? And so that's the kind of thing that...
Has John had a conversation with this chap?
He was just ignoring it before, because it's just yeah, whatever. But I think he's actually decided to send us this letter. I don't really know. You'll have to ask him.
I will.
But yeah, that made me laugh, because it's just and the thing is, you can kind of react however you want to this kind of thing. You can, if you find that somebody is actually making money off something that you've produced and it's yours, then sue the arse off them. Go for it if you want to. Send a cease and desist letter from your lawyer, whatever. But if it's just people swiping your content for their own content, copying your blog posts and stuff, just let them get on with it, because life's too short, and just mock them publicly if you want, because it's good fodder for another email or another article, and it makes them look stupid. Yeah. As well. It makes them look like they haven't got an original thought in their head.
Which they clearly don't.
Well, the thing is that they probably do, they're just lazy. Or if we're being charitable, misguided maybe. They don't know the rules, but I would think
it's thievery.
It's thievery, yeah. It is thievery. So yeah, the very nerve of it. But I kind of was thinking about, the fact that actually it can be quite difficult to come up with your own stuff when you are surrounded by, constant content in your face all the time. And sometimes you think, because I've done this before, I've been I've got this really good idea, and I'll write the outline, and then I'll do a bit of Googling just to, get a bit of background or whatever, and I'll be oh, that's the exact thing that I've just written. And you'll find that actually your amazing idea came because you'd obviously read something, forgotten about it, it's stuck in your head, and then you find it again. So, a lot of, I think it's not always deliberate, but you have to you have to then decide, well, am I going to use this? Am I going to rewrite it completely differently? What am I going to do with it? What you shouldn't do is just copy.
Just rob it.
Yeah, because it's a bit shit. So what can you do? Well, you don't want to turn into a poor clone of the people that you admire.
No.
And I think that that's an easy thing to do, because I think it's a trap that I have fallen into before, or almost fallen into before. Because you kind of read the stuff from people that you admire.
You think that's brilliant. I must tell people.
Yeah, and you also think, oh, I wish I could write like that. So you unconsciously, I think, start to adopt their tone of voice and their phraseology and stuff. And so I think I would suggest, and I've done this recently, unsubscribe from all of your competitors for a start. If you subscribe to them already, because you don't need their shit. It doesn't matter what they're doing. What your competitors are doing is none of your concern. Makes no odds to you. So if you unsubscribe from them, then you're less likely to start sounding like them. Because the other problem with this is you want to stand out and you don't want to be saying the same old stuff that everybody else is doing. And the danger when you're looking at the stuff that everybody else is doing is that you start saying the same thing without realising it. Does that make sense? You just start kind of being surrounded by... Yeah.
You start behaving the way the people around you.
Exactly. So unsubscribe from your competitors, but instead subscribe to people that you admire and who actually give you value and who inspire you and who help you. But make sure you develop your own voice and style. So I only subscribe to a very few emails now, and I don't read all of them anyway. And I try and subscribe to people outside of my immediate industry.
Sure.
Because there's loads of useful stuff out there and interesting people. So, and, reuse people's stories for sure, but give credit. So quite often I'll get an email from my friend Mo. Hi, Mo.
Hi, Mo.
And he does promo products and stuff, but quite often I'll get an email from Mo and it'll say something like, that's a great story. Can I use it, please? And I'll be like, yes. And sometimes he'll put it in his own words, which is fine. Sometimes he'll quote me and give me credit. And very occasionally he'll obviously be busy and I'll get an email that says, I'm nicking this, which I'm fine with, because if I didn't want him to nick it, I'd just reply and say I'd rather you didn't, but I can't imagine why I would do that. No. Because we haven't got the same audience or anything, and he's a mate.
So he's talking to an entirely different target than you.
Yeah. So, and I've asked to quote people like Andy Maslin and Drayton Bird before, and I've written to them and said, would you mind if I just quoted you in this? This is why I'm using it, and blah, blah, blah. And the answer is almost always yes, because it's good for them.
Sure.
So yeah, you can reuse stories and give credit for them. You can rewrite from your own point of view as well, in your own words, putting your own take and opinion on it, which I quite often do. So if I see, if you violently disagree with somebody, you can use that as inspiration. And then, explain why you disagree with them and what your point of view is instead. And, you come up with your own argument as to why you think it's nonsense. Or if you violently agree with something, then that's great as well. Cite the source and explain why and how it relates to you and the person that you're writing to. And, put your own spin on it, basically. Because there's only a limited number of stories out there. Well, I suppose there's an infinite number of stories out there, but there's a limited number of themes.
Sure.
I'm just going to pause and take a drink, because I'm thirsty. Thanks for that, Joe.
What's that?
I thought you might fill in.
Oh, right. Was that? I thought you were going to go for some big comedy, gurgly swallows.
No, I was trying to drink really slowly because I thought you were going to jump in and talk.
Oh, right. Sorry, I didn't quite get that hint.
Thanks.
Cheers. Right.
Anyway, another problem that I have with you, Joe.
Sorry.
No, another problem that I see all of the time is people doing their competitors' courses just to swipe the content from it. And that's really, 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 really bad.
That is very bad.
It's very bad. Don't do it at all. Because if you're really not an expert in that subject, you shouldn't be teaching people how to do it anyway. And that's a pervasive problem in my industry, I think. People
teaching stuff
that they don't know and they don't understand, and that's really bad. And if you're not really an expert in the subject, it will show. So by all means,
the course will feel thin, won't it?
It will feel thin, yeah. They'll feel like there's no depth to it, and you just won't come across as an expert. You'll come across as somebody who's not giving value, really.
Yeah.
So, by all means do courses to learn about stuff, but make sure that you truly understand it before you put your own course together, and make sure it comes from you and your experience and what you want people to learn, not just, I feel like I should have a course out on email marketing, so I'm just going to swipe that content there and put it over here and sell it. That's not good. So, your deep knowledge and skills should enable you to create great courses and content on your own. And everybody out there who is an expert in something, you've got plenty of expertise there. If you feel like you need lots of courses, then dive really deep into a topic. So, you could do an entire course on how to write headlines. And there are courses out there on how to write headlines, and I'm probably going to do one at some point.
Or dog grooming, or unblocking toilets, or whatever the hell it is.
Whatever the hell it is that you decide that you're going to do, yeah. But, I mean, you can go really, really deep and detailed into the subject. So, if you could build 5 or 10 courses out of one topic that somebody else might just do a really broad course on. And people will get far more out of your really deep topics than they will get out of the broad, catch-all. So yeah, don't just swipe people's content. If you have to swipe, you don't know your subject well enough yet, basically.
Yeah.
And if that's the case,
stop trying to teach it.
Yeah, learn it. There's no problem with being inspired by other courses, because I've been inspired myself. So my email marketing mini course was inspired by a mini course I did on a different subject altogether, but I really like the format of it. So I like the format of kind of paying, 30 quid or whatever and getting a week's worth of emails just with a little snippet each day. And I thought that's really great, and I learned quite a lot from that. And I thought, well, I could do that on getting people started with email marketing, and that's exactly what I did, and it's been really cool. And so that was good. And my upcoming November workshop, who do you think you are? November the 3rd and 4th.
See you there.
businessforsuperheroes.com/events/who-r-u. If you book before the end of September, I will pay for your hotel room included in the ticket. If you book after that, I'm afraid you're on your own, because the hotel will be releasing all of the rooms. So ticket price remains the same, but you'll have to sort your own hotel room out. So it's kind of like, I think of it as an early bird offer.
Book it now.
Yeah, get in before the end of September, and it's basically all expenses paid.
Apart from booze. You can buy your own booze.
Yeah, buy your own bloody booze. Anyway, so that upcoming workshop has been inspired by the storytelling workshop I went on last December. I'm not doing one on storytelling, but the format of Sean D'Souza's workshop has inspired me to do something. Sean. Hi, Sean. Has inspired me to do something similar with the workshop that I'm doing. And it's also been inspired by an online course I've been doing on a different subject altogether, because, again, I like the way it's been done and put together. And, I like some of the ideas that came out of it. And, so it's more the structure and format that have inspired me. And the content has inspired me from other places as well. But I've kind of pulled stuff from everywhere, done it myself, understood it, tweaked it, put my own spin on it, and then it becomes mine. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's what everybody does pretty much. So, yeah. I've kind of wandered off, You've
gone off piece a bit there.
I'm kind of tired. Got loads done today. How are we? 22 minutes. Okay. So, few tips. If in doubt, ask. If you want to use somebody's content,
ask them.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. It's the worst that can happen. I'll say, actually, I'd rather you didn't. And you go and find something else.
Yeah. You can quote people. You can link to people. You can, links and friends and all that stuff is good.
Yeah. As long as you don't copy word for word. I mean, people, this is kind of inspired by one of my inner circle members who had asked me about referencing and could he quote me and that kind of thing. And I said, absolutely you can. If you use a big chunk of my content, then I want to be credited for it. If you quote me directly, then I want to be named. But, I'm very happy for that to happen. If you're ever in doubt about whether or not you should use something, just ask. And, if it feels icky, it probably is icky.
Yeah.
So, most people will be really happy to be quoted and linked and all the rest of it. Most people are pretty reasonable. If you're not sure of the source, by the way, because this sometimes happens, just put a note in the article or whatever saying that you're not sure where it came from, and invite anybody to get in touch with you and tell you what they want you to do. So if the author does see it, then you've already kind of put that pre-apology in and said, look, I've had a look for Couldn't find you. If you want me to take this down, just let me know. If you want me to credit you, tell me what you want me to say. And again, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do, because magazines and newspapers do that. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But
source, please.
Yeah, source, please. Yeah. But it's basically just not cool to steal. So, and every now and then I'll see something and think, that sounds a lot like something I wrote a while ago. And, sometimes it's coincidence, but if it actually sounds like me as well, then I know that someone swiped it. And it doesn't happen very often, but every now and then it does. And it's just, whatever. I don't really care that much, because they're the ones who look stupid.
Sure.
So, and it's kind of flattering.
Yeah, I wouldn't shy away from pointing a big finger at them, though. Depends what their profile was, really, I suppose.
Yeah, and what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Whether it was malicious or fun or what.
Yeah, and if they're in a totally different industry from me, then I genuinely don't care.
Yeah.
But it all comes down, really, to just being yourself. Because if you are yourself, then you're not going to be copying anybody else anyway. And anything that you take as inspiration is going to have your spin on it and your voice.
Yeah.
So just be yourself, which is really what November's event is all about. Finding what makes you different, showing you how to bring it out in your writing and in your marketing, showing you how to use it to increase your sales.
Cool.
And it's going to be a really cool couple of days. So even if you think that you already know what your USP is, I think you could still get value out of this, because honestly, the vast majority of marketing that I see, with very few exceptions, gives me no reason to choose them over somebody else.
We can sort that out.
We can absolutely sort that out. And Joe will be there as well. You get to meet Joe.
Hello. Sorry. That's all I'm going to say. 2 days. Hello.
Yeah, that'll be great, thanks. I'm not paying you. What? So yeah, Joe will be there, I will be there, my friend Jen will be there. Hi Jen.
Hi Jen.
Jen's going to be assisting as well, and I've got Ray coming all the way from Canada, which is really exciting.
Jeepers.
I know.
That's commitment, Ray. Well done.
I know, that's so exciting. I think he's coming to the UK anyway, but he's kind of fitting me into his itinerary, which is very exciting. So yeah, tickets are still available. Book before the 30th of September and it's all expenses paid. Book after the 30th of September and you'll have to buy your own room. And I'll hope to see you there.
Excellent.
If you can't make it in November, but you do want to talk to me, then you can always borrow my brain. My Borrow My Brain sessions are available to one and all. And if you would like to borrow my brain, you can book at businessforsuperheroes.com/borrow-my-brain. That's all for this week.
Cool.
Coming up next week, we're going to be talking about hostage negotiation.
Ooh, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be awesomely interesting.
Do I know anything about hostage negotiation?
You probably know more than you think.
Okay.
It's going to be really cool. I've been reading all about that today, you see, while I was, I stumbled across it while I was writing the notes for this podcast. I hope you noticed, by the way, Joe, that I've written notes for this podcast.
You wrote notes for this podcast, yeah. That was well noted.
I know.
Yeah.
It was well noted. So yeah, next week, hostage negotiation techniques.
Don't eat the sandwiches they send in. Or drink the water.
Really?
It's always drugged.
Well, you can tell us all about that later.
Full of tranquilizers. Calm you down. Stop you shooting people.
I suppose that makes sense. You can tell us all about that next week.
I'll do some research.
Thanks very much for listening, guys. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would tell 3 of your friends. Give them the link.
Or more.
Get them to subscribe. Well, 3 is an easy number.
3's, yeah. Most people know 3 people.
And if you really enjoyed it, then please write me a review. If you really hated it, please write me a review as well.
Oof. Bold.
Bold. I am bold. Huh? It's good fodder.
Fair enough. We might mock you.
Depends why.
Anyway,
thanks very much, guys. Be good, and if you can't be good, don't get caught. Thanks, Joe.
No problem.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.